Thank you, Presiding Officer. If you are a child or a young person who comes to Scotland all alone with no family or caregivers, because you have been trafficked or because your home country is no longer safe, what is the one thing that you need the most? Surely it's someone you can trust, someone who is by your side and on your side. Surely it's someone who helps you plan your future, someone who helps you believe that you have a future. These are not just the words of a wonderful wee video by the Scottish Guardianship Service. This is exactly what the Scottish Guardianship Service have been doing for the past 10 years, providing a trusted adult, a guardian, to some of the world's most vulnerable children and young people, ensuring that they can navigate their way through the UK's complex asylum and immigration system and receive legal, welfare and other age-appropriate support. And I'm very grateful, Presiding Officer, to MSP colleagues across the Chamber for supporting my motion that helps secure this debate tonight. Many of these colleagues will have been pivotal in securing the statutory basis and funding for this life-changing service, particularly in relation to the passing of the Human Trafficking Act in 2015. And I know that MSPs will want to join together to pay tribute to the Scottish Guardianship Service on its 10th anniversary and thank everyone involved in this partnership between the Scottish Refugee Council and Aberlour. And over the past 10 years, 700 children from 38 different countries speaking 40 different languages have been supported to rebuild their lives here in Scotland, the length and breadth of Scotland, across 29 local authority areas. The Scottish Guardianship Service is an exemplar of a human rights approach to how a country should care and support trafficked and unaccompanied young people. As a nation, there are only two questions that we should ask ourselves. Are these children and young people our bairns, or are these children and young people our wains? And the answer to both questions is yes. Yes, they are. And like all good corporate parents, we have the same hopes, dreams and aspirations for all of Scotland's children. Presiding Officer, there are some people and events that just never leave you, and I've had the privilege of meeting many refugees and asylum seekers over the years. It is always a humbling experience to listen to the personal testimonies of our new Scots. In fact, it's inspired me to go and try and learn Arabic, but that's another story. And the very last visit I ever undertook as a minister was a visit to Rothesay to firstly visit Helmi's patisserie, to meet Helmi and his family and other Syrian families who were starting businesses and having wains in rural Scotland. And what is not to like about that? And I also, due to a motion placed by Ross Greer, believe that Helmi is branching out to Bearsden, Rona Mackay's constituency. But 2018 was also the year of young people. And whilst in Rothesay, I spent the afternoon with a number of young people supported by the Guardianship Service at an event to combat social isolation and support that sense of community for these young people. And I'm very grateful to the Refugee Council and Aberlour for their briefing for tonight's debate that is rooted in the personal testimony of young people they have supported. Young people like Zayn, who received essential support to help him overcome his almost stifling fears when he first came to Scotland. And Tati, who was guided through the very complex immigration process. And Hai, who learnt to drive. And Lynn, who is now doing her PhD in ultrasonic engineering at the University of Glasgow. My word, these young people are indeed assets to their new country. Of course, the challenge for all of us, Presiding Officer, is to live up to our own rhetoric. And the Scottish Guardianship Service fits with the Scottish Government's commitment to incorporate UNCRC, our new Scots support strategy, and the action to give young expectant mums in the asylum process access to pregnancy and baby payments and the baby box too. Over 16s with immigration leave can vote in Scottish Parliament and local government elections, and there is also access to the care experience bursary for students and free school meals and vouchers where applicable. But where we can improve our support, we can and must. And the Scottish Refugee Council and Aberlour are making a call for national guidance for social workers working with separated children, seeking clarity around access to educational maintenance allowance, and they don't want the small number of asylum-seeking children excluded from our great plans to extend free travel to under-19s. And perhaps the Minister could comment on these asks during her closing remarks. But, Presiding Officer, I can't ignore the elephant in the room. I can't ignore the fact that the asylum system in the UK is broken and inhumane with built-in destitution. There have been 3 separate and potentially avoidable tragedies within the Glasgow refugee community. And housing for people seeking asylum is in disarray, with hotels and other types of accommodation being used for longer than is acceptable. And there is a real live concern that the UK Government's proposed Fair Borders Bill will move away from community support to institutional accommodation for asylum seekers. And that, my word, would be a backward move indeed. And we would all do well to remember, Presiding Officer, that it is international law that gives us all the right to seek asylum in another country. And we would do well to remember that people who risk their lives in dinghies trying to cross the English Channel do so because of utter desperation and utter despair and fear. Presiding Officer, the Scottish Guardianship Service is a beacon of hope, and irrespective of your views on Scotland's constitutional future or who and how the UK immigration system should be run, I hope that we can all agree that the Scottish Guardianship Service in the past 10 years has been a symbol of the country that we are aspiring to be. And to the 700 young people who have come to Scotland all alone, who have been supported by the Guardianship Service, let us all say, welcome to Scotland. You're ours. You're part of our family now.